we acknowledge you. We know, oh God, it is in you that we live, move, and have our being. And it's for that, oh God, we come to celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the drum major for justice. We invite your presence in this place to remind us, oh God, that celebration is a sign of appreciation. Remind us, oh God, that celebration is a reminder of how grateful we are. We pray in the name of Jesus in this season for a spirit of unity, collaboration, cooperation, in the mighty name of Jesus. We thank you for this gathering of these people from across the greater Rochester community, and we pray, oh God, for a spirit of unity to change the world, that we might be able to say that we made a difference in the lives of ordinary people. In your name we do pray, the name that is above every name, the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the darkness has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unknown had died, yet with the steady beat and not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over the way with that tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on away, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. from the places of God where we're many. Let our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Can we please give Brandy Johnson the round of applause that she deserves? Now, to tell you why we're giving her this round of applause that she deserves, not only did she beautifully sing the song, how many times have we heard folks mumble the words to the second and third verse? Too many times I've heard My name is Simeon Banister, and I am glad to share with you today that I am Chair Emeritus of the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Jr. Commission. And it is my further pleasure, after spending the last 3 years pressing the play button on a live stream, to be back in person to commemorate Martin Luther King Day with all of you. Now, if you are familiar with the history of the Civil Rights Movement and the history of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 2023 may feel like a bit of a contradictory year to commemorate his legacy. On the one hand, this is the 55th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King in 2023. On the other hand, this year marks the 60th anniversary of the cherished March on Washington, and it was in this speech where he uttered those famous words that we no doubt hear every MLK Day. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair, I say to you today, my friends. So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. On that fateful day of his assassination 55 years ago, the person or persons who committed such a heinous crime thought that they had snuffed out the dream. But they didn't realize that though you could take the man, you could not take the dream. Even as Dr. King was laid to rest by those who at his side at the moment of his death, the dream would inspire Hosea Williams, who was with King, to create Hosea Feeds the Hungry and Homeless, one of the largest social services in North America. The dream would embolden Ralph Abernathy to keep on keeping on with the Poor People's Campaign, which continues even through today. The dream would empower Sam Kiles to negotiate that raise for Memphis sanitation workers and form the basis for a new Memphis. What they didn't count on was that Dr. King's dream was dependent upon, as he put it, this faith. A faith through which we are able to hew out the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. You see, they didn't know that his dream was full of the faith that the dark past had taught us. They didn't realize that his dream was full of the hope that the present has brought us. That his dream was ready to march on until victory was won. His dream would put Andy Young into Atlanta's mayoralty and into Congress. That dream would make Jesse Jackson run, Jesse run. John Lewis would use that dream to make good trouble. And Dr. Martin Luther King's dream would put Barack Obama in the White House. Out of a mountain of despair, a stone of hope. And though these times may seem filled with despair, the dream is not dead. There is a new hope. Senator Raphael Warnock is part of the new hope. Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi created the rallying call Black Lives Matter, and they are part of the new hope. Ambassador Suzan Johnson Cook is part of the new hope. Mayor Evans and County Executive Bello said inclusive and equitable recovery. They are part of the new hope. We absolutely need our elected officials to be part of the new hope. The MLK Commission is part of the new hope. I'm part of the new hope. You're part of the new hope. And this young man, born and raised here in Rochester, New York, a Howard University graduate, a Fulbright scholar, a program officer for equity at the Community Foundation. Virgil Parker, you are part of the new hope. After 10 years of leading this commission and carrying this torch, I have a new torch to bear to lead Rochester Area Community Foundation. But Virgil, you will hold this legacy high. I have carried this clipboard, this old raggedy clipboard, into 10 commemoration services, into 6 Juneteenth celebrations, and now, my friend, it is yours. And with it comes the responsibility to remind us of Dr. King's legacy and to inspire us to bring about the beloved community. And I know that you will make us all proud.
Wow, that was truly powerful. Thank you, Simeon. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is such an honor and pleasure for me to be here with you in this moment, to accept the responsibility of being chair of the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Jr. Commission. As Simeon said, I am a proud Rochester native. This is our home. This is my home. A place where I grew up and learned to love and be the man that I am today. I love how we can come together as a community in this moment and cherish such an endearing legacy in that of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This commission has a nearly 40-year history in this community. As you can see around you, people from all walks of life venture together on this day to celebrate Dr. King's spirit. And it is important. We come in together in this space to love one another, to fellowship, and with that responsibility, I am uniquely proud to accept this opportunity of chair, as what Simeon alluded to, is a critical year for Dr. King's legacy. We are surrounded by so many anniversaries this year. The 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, the letter from Birmingham jail, and of course, unfortunately, Dr. King's untimely assassination. Not only are we back here in person to recognize the significance of Dr. King, how he was able to stand tall and steadfast in the face of adversity and stand up for equality and equity for all, even when he was obstructed. But we are here to cherish a moment and understand how do we pave a path forward for a future that we can love. You see, Dr. King was truly about unity. He understood the power of organizing. He knew what it meant to unify. When you unite people across differences and similarities, and you build a modicum of respect, you bring together intellectual capacities, you unite resources, you unite concepts, and in fruition, we can see results that we cannot imagine. On that faithful march on Washington in 1963, that was the catalyst for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It took courage to unite hundreds of thousands of people on a common mission. Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, given in front of the Lincoln Memorial there in Washington, D.C., echoed across the world. It is something that as a community we should cherish. He wanted us to realize a future where we don't have to be plagued by rampant discrimination or endure an unjust society, because that is not our constitutional dream at its creed. Nevertheless, even 55 years after his death, many of us in this country still have to fight to have our constitutional rights respected and simply maintain integrity in our democratic process. And the fight is truly hard. You being here today in this moment is a testament as to how you choose to be a part of that fight. And for that, we appreciate you. You should give yourself a round of applause. So we selected this year's theme, "The Dream is Not Dead, Democracy is Alive." Because democracy in this nation is sacred, and it should be treated as such. It is the basis for how you are governed, and your voice belongs in that process. And Dr. King emphasized that. That is why we must work together to ensure that democratic rights of people are not unfairly threatened by anyone. Because Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So with that being said, it is truly an honor to be here with you again. We as a commission, the Martin Luther King Jr. Commission here in the greater Rochester, are going to look forward to engaging you over the next year and months to come. We really are going to attach ourselves to Dr. King's essence and learn how to be that conduit of resources and opportunity and connection in our community. Because that's what it takes to reach across sectors, public sectors, private, social, to intertwine our capabilities to manifest something that we can all be proud of. So again, it's an honor to take this role. I know I have some really big shoes to fill in Mr. Simeon Banister, but I'm looking forward, we as a commission are looking forward to working with you, learning from you, and creating a path forward that we can all be satisfied with. And it's going to take some time. Thank you.
We know what separation during COVID has done to us as a community, as a country. So it is important that we get together when we can, and particularly when we have the opportunity to honor the great life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to commend the MLK Commission for all of their hard work and for keeping this going during the pandemic. I want to congratulate Simeon Banister for the work that he has done leading this commission for the last 10 years, and say welcome to Virgil Parker, who does have big shoes to fill, who will be coming up behind Simeon, who represents the next generation of leaders. Howard University, great young man who is now going to help and carry this legacy forward. So congratulations, Virgil. And thank you to all the commissioners who put in I know all the commissioners, almost all of them, that put the work behind the scenes to keep this annual event going. So I want to also thank them for their hard work. And to all my partners in government for being here. We have a proclamation that we are going to read. The only note I'm going to make before I read the proclamation is one of the things Dr. King said that I think resonates with today, and it's going to resonate tomorrow, and it resonated yesterday. He said, when the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. Now, some of us are still waiting for the full presence of that promissory note. Now, I was a banker. So if you don't know what a promissory note is, that's a note that says, I'm entitled to something. And we are all entitled to what is outlined in the Constitution, to what is outlined in the Declaration of Independence. Now, we have not realized all those things that are entitled. We're also entitled to it because in every battle that the United States has fought, there's been an African American on every single battle from the American Revolution on to the fight we had in Afghanistan. So we say we must continue to work to build that more perfect union so that we can cash in and live up to the promissory note that Dr. King talked about. I'm going to cede the floor to our County Executive, Adam Bello, to give some brief comments, and then we will read this brief proclamation proclaiming Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Rochester and Monroe County. Mr. County Executive.
Good morning. I want to first start by acknowledging our mayor, Malik Evans. I want to thank him for his friendship, his leadership, and it's really great to be with him this morning. Let's give our mayor a round of applause. I also want to add my thanks to Simeon, Virgil, and the entire commission for bringing us back together this year. I've missed you over the last couple of years, and it's wonderful to be back with all of you in person. We're here gathered today to celebrate the life of a man who I know inspires everybody in this room. Today we reflect how his words, his actions, and his life made an everlasting imprint on society, paved the way for equity and inclusion for all people. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He dedicated his life to lifting people up and fighting for the rights of every person. This year marks the 55th anniversary of Dr. King's death. The work and his dreams live on, though, in each of us. Whether we work in government or schools or churches, we must continue to work together towards a society where everyone has an opportunity to succeed, to live their dreams, and to make their voices heard. And this isn't going to be easy. There's going to be challenges, there are obstacles, but we must remain undaunted in our pursuit of justice. Dr. King once said, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. We must continue to do what we can to secure voting rights for every American, fight for equity and inclusion in our workforce, break down socioeconomic barriers that have held our families back. The mayor and I, our administrations, are committed to working together, charging our teams with examining our local laws, developing this sense of community around policies and legislation to dismantle systemic and institutional inequities that exist still today in our community. You know, one of the things that I'm most heartened about over the last couple of days, and even this morning, I'm scrolling through social media, is the displays of community service. These acts of a day of action, and people coming together across the community, recognizing that our words, the words that we speak today and the words that we'll speak over the next several days as we recognize Dr. Martin Luther King, aren't enough. We need to change, if we're going to change this community, if we're going to have that lasting impact on the families that call Monroe County home, to make sure that everyone and generations to come can pursue the American promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we need to move on beyond our words, and we need to go through our actions. And that's what today hopefully is all about. And when we leave here today, we'll be inspired to take action in our community to make this a better place for everyone who calls our community home. And with that,
whereas today we commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born on January 15, 1929. In Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his entire life to achieving civil rights, promoting equality, and ending racial discrimination through nonviolent means and direct action. And in doing so, he built on the American dream, a dream of true democracy.
we commend the actions and powerful voices of these women and men who forged the pathway for us to follow, along with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that of Rosa Parks, Ella Baker, Bayard Rustin, John Lewis, and the powerful and resonating lyrics of Mahalia Jackson, Marian Anderson, and through the years, so many others. And
whereas 1 year after delivering his historic I Have a Dream speech to over 250,000 civil rights supporters on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in 1963, Dr. King became the youngest person in history to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial inequality through nonviolence. In recognition of his leadership, courage, and commitment to equality, Dr. King was invited to the White House to witness the signing of two of our nation's most significant pieces of legislation, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And
whereas in 1968, Reverend King traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, risking his own life to obtain a just wage, better working conditions, and dignity for garbage collectors. Today, highlighted by the pandemic, our world better grasps the true value of such essential workers. Reverend King's passion and commitment to right the wrongs in our society cost him his life. America lost one of its greatest civil rights pioneers and heroes when Dr. King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. After his death, Dr. King was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1977 and the Congressional Gold Medal in 2004.
And whereas 55 years after his death, we reflect on Dr. King's legacy and his hope for our country, we are reminded that even in times of turmoil, the dream is not dead, democracy is alive. We are reminded that his work is far from over, and that it is our duty to carry on his torch. On this national holiday, we rededicate ourselves to being true drum majors for justice and uniting together to work towards the creation of an equitable city, county, and country. And
whereas Reverend King's legacy lives on today through the efforts of the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, the Black Lives Matter movement, the City County Commission on Racial and Structural Equity, and many visionary leaders and agents for change who rally in unison for the promise of America. The road ahead is long and winding, but we're inspired by the commitment of so many within our community to address racial discrepancies and inequities. As in the words of the writer James Baldwin, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced.
Now, therefore, we, Malik D. Evans, Mayor, City of Rochester, New York, and Adam J. Bello, Monroe County Executive, do hereby proclaim January 16, 2023 to be Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Monroe County and the City of Rochester.
I'm going to take a quick moment just to acknowledge one more proclamation, and this will be brief. But our governor, Kathy Hochul, gave a proclamation to acknowledge our gathering here today. I'm going to read the tail end of the proclamation. It says, "Now therefore, I, Kathy Hochul, Governor of the State of New York, do hereby proclaim January 16th, 2023 as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the Empire State, and reaffirm our shared commitment to the goal of building a better world through peaceful, nonviolent social change. Given under my hand in the privy seal of the state of the Capitol in the city of Albany this 9th day of January in the year 2023. I want to acknowledge our regional representative for Kathy Hochul, Elizabeth Morbito. Where are you? Here. Thank you so much. Please stand and give a round of applause. We truly appreciate Governor Hooker for this acknowledgement. Thank you.
God is the King.
intricately we are bound each to each. Bob believed in the power of dialogue. He knew how to listen, to love, how to live with a fullness. Bob was a beautiful example of how life is for learning. He was a generous man, and among many gifts he shared, these were the most cherished: time, attention, presence, authenticity, compassion, hope, and a sense of humor that he maintained even into the last day of his life. Bob spent 40 years in the field of education, and first as a teacher and a coach, and then as a middle school counselor, where he instituted peer helping, conflict resolution, and mediation. He was a man of peace and spent much of his life working on social justice issues. As a man of integrity, he walked the walk, and in 2010, the Martin Luther King Commission established the Robert Bob Cobbett Memorial Peace Award. This award to be given posthumously to others who have walked in his same path. And this year's awardee is Bruce Hopper. Mr. Popper's 45-year career in labor as a rank and file member of the 1199 SEIU proved to be strongly impactful on the workforce in the Rochester community. And being that 1199 SEIU was Dr. King's favorite union, it is our privilege as the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Commission to honor his legacy with the Robert Cobbett Peace Award. And here to accept the award on behalf of Bruce and his family is Mr. Tracy Harrison. On behalf of the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, the 2023 Robert Cobbett Peace Award reads, as a replica out of a mountain of despair, a stone of hope, from the MLK Memorial in Washington, D.C.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Tracy Harrison. I'm the Area Vice President for 1199 SEIU. It's an honor and privilege to be here today to accept this award on behalf of Bruce Popper and his family. Unfortunately, his wife was unable to attend this event, but has asked me to go ahead and share her remarks. I promise to be brief. She said, "I'm sorry that I couldn't be with you today to accept this award for my husband, Bruce. I know how honored he would be to receive it." Bruce had two heroes, Frederick Douglass and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that he would often quote in his many discussions with staff and in his speeches. One of his favorite quotes was, "Our moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Martin Luther King Jr., in his address to Southern Christian Leadership Conference in August of 1967. For as long as I have known him, Bruce had a picture of MLK Jr. cut out of a magazine in his plastic wallet insert. I carry that picture in my wallet now in his honor. Bruce was very proud of and looked forward to the 1199 SEIU MLK celebration at Strong Memorial Hospital, and always gave the closing remarks until his retirement in 2019. Bruce spent much of his life fighting for a living wage for workers. He understood that workers are the lifeblood of a community. He was inspired to follow his path by Dr. King's speech on March 18, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee during the sanitation workers' strike. This was the closing chapter of his life, his last great campaign. I would like to read a portion of that speech that was very moving for Bruce. Do you know that most of the people, poor people in this country, are working every day? They are making a wage so low that they cannot begin to function in the mainstream of the economic life of our nation. These are facts. These are facts which have been seen. And it's criminal to have people working a full-time basis, full-time job, getting part-time income. Now, our struggle is for genuine equality, which means economic equality. For we know now that it isn't enough to integrate lunch counters. What does it profit a man to be able to eat at an integrated lunch counter if he doesn't have enough money to buy a hamburger? What does it profit a man to be able to eat at the swankiest integrated restaurant when he doesn't even earn enough to take his wife out to dine? What does it profit one to have access to hotels of our cities and the hotels of the highways when he don't earn enough money to take our families on a vacation? What does it profit one to be able to attend an integrated school when he doesn't earn enough to buy his children clothes? She said, something to ponder. That said, she said, thank you for this honor in Bruce's memory. That said, I would like to personally thank the MLK Commission, Simeon Banister, Virgil Parker, Dr. Richards, and all those who were involved in the decision to provide this award. I would also like to take the time to recognize and show our appreciation to our elected officials, more specifically, our guide, Assemblyman DeMond Meeks, who comes from 1199 SEIU, and he's continuing that fight as well. Thank you.
Rochester on this beautiful Martin Luther King Day 2023. Special thanks to each of you for coming out today to recognize and honor our Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the drum major for peace. Let's put your hands together again and let's take a moment to celebrate. Commissioner Sherry Hawkins, and I am here to assist you in expressing with your finances the great life-changing work of Dr. King and those of the Civil Rights Movement more than 50 years ago, as well as to demonstrate our appreciation for the humanitarian and civil work done by so many of you here today, and of course, the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Commission. In other words, I am here to take an offering. Why an offering? I'm glad you asked. Because the funds that we raise together today will help continue the work done by the Commission to address the needs of our young people, the elderly, and yes, to support the work on behalf of our beloved community. Brothers and sisters, right now is an opportunity for all of us to make a personal investment in moving things forward for the future. So let's put our right now faith. How many of you know we have some right now faith in action by giving our offering? And those who don't have it to give, you still can exercise your right now faith, because we also have Cash App, which is $, again, our Cash App is $, all caps, GRMLK. Again, the Cash App is $, all caps, GRMLK. And our PayPal, another way to exercise your faith, is all caps, GRMLK. And you can find links to both of those, in case you forget, at www.grmlk.org. So this is the way we exercise our faith. So as you can see, our ushers are distributing the baskets for each of us to place our offering. And again, on behalf of the MLK commissioners, we would like to thank all of you in advance for helping the work get done. And may there always be an increase and an overflow in your lives. And after the offering, I'll just bless all of those faith-filled offerings that are in the basket. We appreciate you. Again, I'm just going to say again, our Cash App, while we're continuing to collect our offering, is $, all caps, GRMLK, and our PayPal is all caps, GRMLK. And you know how they always say, practice what you preach? So I've already, at the beginning, made my contribution through Cash App on behalf of the work that's being done. Just in case anybody wanted to know. So at this time, we already put a blessing over the offering, overflow and increase. We love you, and now we'll have a selection by our MLK choir.
Thank you.
awards, a true treat for this blessing we're about to get from Ambassador Suzan Johnson Cook. I'm going to read part of her bio. Ambassador Cook was the first female and African American to hold the position of U.S. Ambassador for International Religious Freedom. Nominated by Secretary Hillary Clinton and appointed by President Barack Obama, she was the principal advisor to the President of the United States of America and the Secretary of State for religious freedom globally. Additionally, she has been the faith advisor to 2 U.S. presidents, 3 cabinet secretaries, as well as political and celebrity leaders. You may have heard us say consistently that she is the goddaughter of the late Coretta Scott King. We are truly blessed to have her in our presence today. And I ask for you to please pray for her as she brings us a word. The next voice you will hear after the choir selection is that of the Honorable Ambassador Suzan Johnson Cook. Thank you.
Simeon Banister. Let us thank him for a decade of service and leadership. Thank you. I think we can do better than that for 10 years of service and leadership.
Hey, fine.
And to your incoming chair, who is a young man I met in his freshman year when I was speaking at the Howard Chapel at Howard University, and who is my other son, Virgil Parker, Fulbright scholar, one who has done so much, a Wrangell Fellow. So he's in the State Department, he's in the White House, he's in Canada. He's a man who with tenacity and warmth is ready to take over this world and now leadership of this commission. Let us stand and greet Virgil. My other son. So we pledge our support for you and to you as you go. And to this choir, you rock. You rock. Oh my goodness. So good morning, Rochester. Good morning. I bring you greetings from the boogie down Bronx, downstate. We are here. Any Bronxites in the house? All right. We used to say, wave your hand in the air. Wave like you just don't care. If you love the Bronx and you feel all right, let me hear you say. So I bring you greetings from the Johnson Cook family and the Bronx and New York City and all those who are working with us. It has just been a joy and a pleasure so far to be in this service. And I am just thankful that I have the honor and the privilege. I met Mrs. Coretta Scott King in 3rd grade when she and Dr. King came to Hunter College to speak in the auditorium, very much like this. And I wrote her a thank you note, put a little stamp on it as a 3rd grader would, and she wrote back from the address 234 Sunset Avenue. And years later, I was best friends with her eldest daughter, Yolanda, and got to live in that house with them at 234 Sunset Avenue. And it was my joy to be her goddaughter and to be her other daughter, as she called me. And so I praise God for the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. I know Viola Davis has this film about women kings, but I got to be with the queens and the kings. Hello, somebody. And to all the Reverend clergy, Bishop Johnson, and the First Genesis family who hosted me yesterday, and to all the clergy, my co-sojourners in this gospel, to all of you, it is so great to be here today. Thank you for receiving me. Now, they gave a Baptist preacher 15 minutes to speak. That's an impossible dream. So I have a dream that one day they'll give Baptist preachers a little more than 15 minutes. I have a dream today. But I'm also excited as when I leave here today, I go to Annapolis, Maryland, and there will be the first inauguration of the youngest and the first African-American governor, Wes Moore, of the state of Maryland. And I was honored to play a little role in his life as well, as he became a White House Fellow, and I was able to help him and give him a reference. So that's always good to know somebody, amen. So if you ask me if this dream still lives, I give a resounding yes. When I see men like Virgil Parker and Simeon, when I see Wes Moore, and now the new head of Congress, Hakeem Jeffries, who's gonna rock this Congress and rock this world. Yes, the dream still lives. And so using a question from Dr. Martin Luther King's book that was in my library in 3rd grade, where do we go from here, chaos or community? Dr. King said we proclaim our devotion to democracy, but we sadly practice the very opposite of the Democratic creed. This strange dichotomy, this agonizing gulf between the ought and the is, represents the tragic theme of man's earthly pilgrimage. And he later went on to say, when an individual is no longer a participant, when he or she no longer feels a sense of responsibility to his society, the control of acrimony is emptied, when future is degraded and vulgarity enthroned, when the social system does not build security but induces peril inexorably, the individual is impelled to pull away from a soulless society. And so President Biden said it this way: we are fighting for the soul of our nation. And now, if any other time coming out of COVID, we know that we are fighting for the soul of our nation. If you read any of the latest periodicals, they talk about the nuns, N-O-N-E-S, those who have no faith tradition. Then they talk about the duns, the D-O-N-E-S, those who are done with faith traditions. And I add to that the buns, B-U-N-S, people who have sat on their buns for the last 2 years and done absolutely nothing. So we are enduring the ongoing impact of a pandemic, which has been coupled with consistent threats to our democratic process. Politicians and civilians alike have taken drastic efforts to undermine the electoral outcome that was decided by millions of Americans. There's not a smooth transition of power, but I'm glad today we have a smooth transition of power between Simeon and Virgil. It's something when you're trying to assassinate governors and members of Congress, and there's still racial profiling going on, killing black and brown men and women, putting dreamers and future dreamers into prison and pits. And so as we reflect on Dr. King's legacy, we realize how he emphasized the need for political, economic, and social equity. And so today, for the few minutes that I have, I just want to speak on this term. It's our turn now. It's your turn now. Turn to someone near you, don't spit on them and say, it's your turn now. Say, it's my turn now. Just lift your hands up, say, it's our turn now. It's our turn, it's our turn, it's our turn. Dr. King would have been 94 yesterday. It's our turn now. I want to lift up the words of a poet, Carol Etzler, who penned this poem. Sometimes I wish my eyes hadn't been opened. Sometimes I wish I could no longer see all of the pain and the hurt and the longing of my people and me as we try to be free. Sometimes I wish my eyes hadn't been opened, just for a moment how sweet it would be not to be struggling, not to be striving, but just to sleep secretly in our slavery. But now that I've seen with my eyes, I can't close them. Because deep inside me, somewhere I'd still know the road that my people and I have to travel. My heart would say yes, my feet would say go. Sometimes I wish my eyes hadn't been opened. But now that they have, I'm determined to see that somehow this day, God's people and I will be the people God created us to be. We have to open our eyes because it is our turn now. Dreams have many stages. I don't know about you, but I'm a really good sleeper. I have no problem sleeping anytime, anywhere. I can fall asleep, even on the New York City subway. But I've learned that dreams have many stages. There are deep sleeps where you're almost knocked out by your dream, and then there's lighter sleep where you feel that you are a part of the dream, and then there's REM sleep. And in REM sleep, that's when dreams begin to happen. But in all of those sleep patterns, your eyes are closed. It's time for us to wake up from our REM sleep and begin to see the dreams as they are. Maya Angelou said it this way in the Pulse of the Morning. It seems like we're living in a nightmare while we think we have a dream. But today we're going to turn those nightmares around, because all dreamers are going to face some kind of threats. All dreamers are going to have some people who are haters and not celebrators. Am I right about it? There was a man named Joseph. We knew him in Sunday school as Joseph with the coat of many colors. But Joseph had a dream, and even his own people conspired to throw him in a pit. But they did not realize that he had favor of his father. Hello, somebody. And whenever you're a dreamer, just remember you've got the
the favor of your Father. But what they also didn't recognize when they threw him in the pit can be your landing place or it can be your launching place. Come on, somebody. So don't ever get stuck in the pit. Don't ever be pitiful, because that means you're full of pit. Turn and ask the person, are you full of pit? The pit can be your landing place or it can be your launching place. Turn and tell the person beside you, get ready to take off. I'm launching. So we all have to have a turn now, and we've got to do something well. Dr. King says if you're a street sweeper, sweep those streets well. Do it with pride and be the best at whatever you do. And he says if you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But keep going forward. Don't ever go backwards. We cannot go back. You've got to go forward. And so you got to do something. It is your turn. Volunteer for this commission, MLK Commission. What's your website? grmlkcommission.org. Come on, somebody. Do something. Care for our elders, children, those in the nursing home. Volunteer with some of these out-of-control children that are out here. It is not okay to sucker punch our elderly. It is not okay to push folk in the subway. It is not okay to cuss folk out. It's not okay. But somebody's got to set the standards and somebody's got to model what good life is like. You cannot walk around with your pants down and your skirts up. You gotta keep your skirts down and your pants up. Can I get a witness? Every year we commemorate and we celebrate his life, and it was an amazing life. That at age 39 he had changed the world. But many of us at 49 and 59 and 69 are still trying to get it together. I don't want to have Dr. and Mrs. King and Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. I don't want to have them turn over in their graves. So today we must claim it's our turn now to walk and to work with our eyes open, not walking around in a nightmare. My later goes on to say, lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning that's dawning on you. It's our turn now. Stop talking and start walking and start helping and stop bad-mouthing and start lifting and start uplifting and start elevating the conversation. We are not hoes and we're not the B word. Elevate the conversation. You don't want them to use the N-word. Don't you use the N-word. Stop allowing folks to say just anything around you that does not lift us, and stop putting down one another, and stop cussing folks out, and start being kind. Start saying words that encourage. Start being a blessing. The Wall Street Journal just had this week a book about inspiration. And it's a bestseller. All it's doing is saying what we already know. That when you inspire people, it changes the atmosphere. And they start feeling good energy, and the endorphins start lifting, and the blood pressure starts going down, and life can be extended if we just intentionally try to inspire. So we've got to go from expiring to inspiring. From discouragement to encouragement. You brought me in for motivation, but now you've got to have application. Yeah. Slap somebody high five. If you use it, give me the attribution for it. All right. And you've got to be able now to learn at least a little technology. AI is here to stay. It can tell you what color your eyes are, even if there's 1,000 or 10,000 people in the room. They can tell you what you're wearing, what color your hair is. They can tell whether you got a weave or a wig. AI is here to stay. And some of us don't even know yet how to turn on a Zoom. You're doomed if you can't Zoom. I'm a boomer and I'm a Zoomer. Hello, somebody. But you gotta try to keep up with this world, otherwise you'll be left behind. It's our turn now to broaden our horizons and go where we've never gone before and do what we've never done before. The prophet Isaiah said it this way: dig your stakes deep and stretch your tents wide. Stretch them wide, go where you've never gone before. Whenever God was trying to do a miracle, he stretched the people. He told Moses when they were at the Red Sea and people were arguing with him, he said, stretch forth your hand. Put some energy into it. Use what I've given you. Utilize all the gifts and the skills. Use what I've placed in your hands. And Moses had a staff in his hands. And he said, if you just raise that staff, miracles can happen and my people can cross over to the other side of the Red Sea. You've got to start using what's in your hands. Don't hate on me because I got stuff in my hands. You can't do what I do and I can't do what you do, but everybody's got something in there. Use what you got. Moses, I put a staff in your hands. Martin, I put a dream in your hands. Ambassador Suzan, I put leadership of women in your hands and diplomatic access to the whole world in your hands. Moses, don't just raise it, but stretch it over the Red Seas, and the obstacles will be minimized. And in many cases, they can be erased, reduced, and even dismissed. That means it's your turn to stretch your mind. Don't just look at Bravo. Read a book. When's the last time you opened a book? Not the comics. When was the last time you read a book? Stretch your influence. Stretch to see and be what we could not be before. If you have a foundation, find some people to give that money to. I'm a good candidate for it. Stretch what you're able to do. Open your eyes and begin to see the inequities, not only that others put on us, but the ones we also placed on ourselves. And for God's sake, vote. That's what John Lewis and Martin and Andy gave their lives so you could vote. At least wake up. You don't even have to put on your makeup. Just get up and at least vote. For years, women were told we couldn't do certain things. And we were told we were supposed to be in the back of the bus and sit on the sidelines. Oh yes, especially in the church. We could cook the fried chicken, we could bake the cakes, but they told us to sit in the back. But I'm here now with 42 years of ordained ministry, and ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from doing what I do. And I'm a bad mama jamma, yes I am. Oh yes I am. I'm reminded of 5 women in the Old Testament, also in the book of Torah. They were called the daughters of Zelophehad. Most times women's names were not told, but in Numbers 11, they said these women's names. They were sisters who were living in a time when women were supposed to be seen and not heard, sit on the sideline. But their father died, and here was a time and opportunity for them to stand up and ask for what was rightfully theirs. And there will come a time when God opens the doors and opens our eyes and allows special moments in time and in history to occur. Here they were at a pivotal moment, and because they spoke up when they did with the information they had and the history they had, the rule books had to change, and they said, yes, it's rightfully yours. Surely you should get what's rightfully yours. But here's what they did. They went to God because they trust him, like the choir said, but they went to their leadership, they went to the congregation, and they went to their royalty, their princes and their princesses. And they stood at the door of the tabernacle. See, you can't be so busy learning PowerPoint that you forget the point of power. And they knew they were royalty. And when you're royalty, you walk like you're somebody, you talk like you're somebody, you act like you're somebody, you lift up your head, you don't have your head down. We are royalty. You are the princes, and the kings, the queens. You are royalty. And laws can change and rule books can change, but their timing was right. Had they moved a week ahead, they would have been too early. Had they moved a week later, they would have been too late. You got to know not only is it your turn, but it's also your time. It's your time to make a move. Dr. King knew it was his time. And their father paved the way for them. Dr. King paved the way for us with the hoses, the dogs, the spit, the insults, the bridges he crossed. He paid his dues and then some. And my late parents, Dorothy C. Johnson and Wilbert T. Johnson. Our dad was from Petersburg, Virginia. My mother was from Monroe County, North Carolina. They were sharecroppers in this generation, picking cotton and tobacco in the blazing sun as kids in this generation. But they had a dream that the cotton fields were not their destiny. The only way for a black woman to get out the fields in those days was either to become a nurse or a teacher. Somehow my mother made it up to Fayetteville State Teachers College. And she would type for the president by day, take her classes by night, and go back to the fields. And it got each of her high school family out of the fields. One by one, her cousins who had not finished high school, she taught them so they could get out the fields, one by one. Fast forward, I was working for 2 presidents of the United States. Fortunately, President Obama, President Clinton, I was blessed to be at the White House. My mother had to use an outhouse, but here I was in the White House. So the time came. One of the presidents, the election was riding on North Carolina. They needed votes in North Carolina. So they knew that I had roots in North Carolina. So one of the presidents called me. I was pastoring then a church in the Bronx, New York. And so here I was pastoring. He says, we need you to help us with North Carolina. I said, I'm a pastor. It was a Sunday. He said, I need you to help us with North Carolina. I said, if you can get me a ticket after church, after I do the benediction, then I'll meet you. So he got me a ticket. Back then we would go to the ticket counter at LaGuardia Airport. They had ticket people behind the counters there, no kiosk. There was a man with a jerry curl and the jerry curl juice was dripping, but that was okay. I said, brother, can you pass me my ticket? Suzan Johnson, yes. I had gate number 9. Anybody here always get the last gate? I was at gate number 9. I made it on one of them little itty bitty planes. And so the plane landed in North Carolina, Elizabeth City, North Carolina. There, the Secret Service gave us a button. You always get a button when you work with whoever you work with in government. And they said, Ambassador, I was an ambassador. Dr. Johnson, thank you for coming. This is going to be your assignment today. You're going to introduce the president. He's going to introduce his candidate. That's all you need to do all day long. Can you handle it? I can handle it. They said, get outside. There's some limousines waiting for us. The president's getting ready to come down. Get in the limos. So I went in limo number 1. They said, don't get it twisted. That's the president's. I said, okay. All right. Yes, sir. Got in limousine number 2. We were going down these limousines. They went straight down the highway. People on both sides of the highway. The motorcade was going. The sirens were going. I was digging the scene with my preacher lean. Oh, yes, I was. People were waving outside and I was waving inside. I was like, God bless America. Stony the road we tried. I was singing everything. So we get to Elizabeth State University. I jumped out, I'm feeling good, my adrenaline's pumped. I said, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. He slapped me high five, they called me Sujay. Thank you, Mr. President. We got back in the car, we went 4 different places. He said, look, we can't cover the whole state by motorcade. We're gonna have to get on my plane. Can you stay with us? I can stay with you. Yes, I can. So we go to the field. There's the presidential plane with the presidential seal. There were 4 seats about the size of this pulpit. 2 seats facing 2 seats. President was in one, a governor was in one, a mayor was in one, and I was in seat number 4. Yes, I was. So I'm diagonally across from the president. He's trying to make me feel comfortable. All I can think of saying is yes. He said, okay, buckle up, the pilot's coming. On this side of the plane steps up this tall black pilot. Fine, black pilot. But you know, when there are only 2 black people, you make eye contact. You really want to say, oh, God, but you can't do that. Gotta act like you've been there before, or they won't invite you back. So we take off, and the plane lands in 3 fields. The first field is New Bern, North Carolina, by the waterfront. People have their placards for their candidate. I say, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Everybody applauds. We get back on the plane. We go to field number 2, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. People are standing there with their placards. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. We go to field number 3. We land in Monroe, North Carolina. We land in the field where my mother had been on her knees, picking cotton and tobacco. Here her daughter is standing with the President of the United States. I am so thankful because I had a praying mother. I know she was praying, one day my kids won't have to pick cotton. One day my kids won't have to pick tobacco. I have a dream that one day none of us are going to be in these fields. And because my mother had a dream, because my mother prayed for me, because my mother said the fields are not where I'm going to end up, I am somebody. Yes, I am. So I have a dream that we won't just be sitting here, but that we'll do something great and marvelous and thank God for one more day. My mother said, I use an outhouse, but my daughter walks in the White House. Come on. So sometimes I wish my eyes had been opened, but now that they have, I'm determined to see that somehow this day, God's people and I will be the people God created us to be. Dream on and dream with your great heart. In Jesus' name, say yeah.
Did she bring the word? Let's give her a round of applause, please. To God be the glory. Professor Suzan Johnson Cook. My name is Commissioner Rashad Parker, and it is my pleasure to bring our final performance, Miss Pam Beatty Mensah, accompanied by Paul Boutte and the baddest band in the land. Thank you.
Everything
I want to acknowledge our dignitaries by name, allow them the opportunity to, when you're called to stand, and please wave. Before I do that, I just want to emphasize Dr. King was successful because of how he was able to interconnect with many community leaders, including our politicians. So sincerely, we do thank you for being here today. We'd love to acknowledge, of course, please, Monroe County Executive Adam Bello, Mayor Mike Evans, New York State Senator Simon Brooke, New York State Assemblyperson Harry Bronson, New York State Assemblyperson Damon Meeks, New York State Assemblyperson Sarah Clark, New York State Assemblyperson Jen Lunsford, RCSD Board President Cynthia Elliott, thank you so much for being here. RCSD Superintendent Carmine Peluso, City Council Member Lachey Harris, President of the County Legislature Sabrina Lamar, thank you so much. Everyone's been very supportive. County Clerk Jamie Romero, our several county legislators, Michael Udelson, John Bain, thank you, John, Ricky Frazier, and of course, Dave Long. I also want to acknowledge Brighton Town Supervisor Bill Melly, Brighton City Council Member Robin Wilt. Really proud to have her in attendance today. And RCSD School Board Member Camille Simmons. Did I forget anyone? I don't want to not acknowledge anyone who's been present today. I'm so incredibly grateful. Lastly, for our specific partners, this is a long-standing tradition that we've had our celebration here at Eastman School of Music. I want to give a very special thank you and shout out to them for the entire 20 years. Acknowledging the Democrat and Chronicle, the Beta Chi Chi Nursing Sorority of Chi Eta Phi Nursing Sorority Incorporated. I want to thank you all. Our stage director, Natalie Shepard, who's been incredible this evening, or excuse me, this morning, and the evenings prior to this. Rashad Smith, our communications director, Jason Monroe, and this incredibly talented MLK community choir. Each and every one of the incredible artists, we thank you. I want to thank Troop and Pack number 169 of the Scouts of America. Thank you for the presentation. I want to thank James Waters and all of our ushers, including Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and the Prince Hall Masons. I want to thank, and this is an extensive thank you because it was a last minute request. I want to thank Paige Bixby Interpreting Services for coming out. And when I say last minute, we made the request Saturday. And they were able to accommodate, so we thank you. I want to thank Albert Jones Photography and all media outlets who are here with us today. And simply put, just thanking everyone who has been able to be a part of this program. Immediately following this panel discussion, we thank you all for being here present with us. We want to encourage folks if they would like to attend a panel discussion that's taking place at Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church at 11 o'clock. The topic is a focus on the Black church and the challenges and opportunities that are affiliated with the Black church. And again, this is in the essence of Dr. King. That is at 11 o'clock, immediately following this service at Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church. I'd like to also acknowledge the Morehouse Glee Club in concert. They are having a function on Tuesday, March 14th, 2020 this year at Asbury First. I want to thank them and James Waters again, who this is his alma mater, so we really do appreciate you all being here in attendance today. And last and certainly not least, I want to thank Ambassador Suzan Johnson Cook. Standing ovation. was another last-minute request as we were putting it together. But I texted her just a couple months back and said, Ambassador, Mom, I need your help. I need you to come to my city and bring us a word. So I do appreciate it, Ambassador. Truly did an amazing job. And then last and certainly not least, I want to thank Bruce Popper for what he's done for our community. Thank you, Tracy Harrison, for accepting the award on his behalf. So we're about to close out. I want to bring back up our Commissioner Rashad Parker, who is going to do the benediction, and then following that, the entire commission are going to lead you in the MLK community charge. But once again, we thank you so much for being here in attendance. This has been an incredible celebration, and we are already looking forward to 2024. 2024 will mark the 40th anniversary of this celebration, and we are looking to have some incredible opportunities for you. And as we emphasize, we do look forward to engaging you as a commission over these next several months to come. We are already in preparation for a Juneteenth festival that's going to take place later this year. We're going to have some incredible food, culture, and festivities for you to participate in, and we want to continue to engage you as a community, learn from you, love with you, and love each other, and grow to create the community that we are proud of. So thank you all so much for coming out and expressing your interest. Rashad?
Thank you, Virgil. Man, did we not have a beautiful celebration today? We back outside, y'all. God has been so good to us, and we're so very, very thankful. Again, my name is Commissioner Rashad Parker, and on behalf of the Greater Rochester Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Rochester community. We've done a great thing here today. This is what heaven looks like. If you want to know what heaven looks like, this is what heaven looks like. Thank you. I'd like to bring the commissioners to the stage to join me, please. And also give them a round of applause for the work that they've done. Dr. Christina Richards, Sherry Hawkins, and Mr. Virgil Parker.
Have an incredible team of commissioners. They've been very supportive with this transition. So we're going to do as follows. I'll read the leader portion, and then my fellow commissioners are going to work with you to read the audience portion. So ask everyone to please stand for the reading of the community charge. Let us join in covenant today to commit ourselves to the following. I commit myself to give a new birth to the vision of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I commit myself to work toward a fellowship that lifts neighborly concerns beyond any tribe, race, class, or nation. I commit myself to call for an all-embracing and unconditional love for all humanity. I commit myself to fuse power with compassion, might with morality, and strength with insight. To choose non-violent coexistence rather than violent co-annihilation. I commit myself to speak for peace and justice throughout my community and within and beyond our doors and shores. Sisters and brothers, if you do so commit, say, I do commit.
I do commit.
Therefore, let us now enter into covenant with each other for the same causes as Dr. King. If you agree to the following statements, after each, please say, we shall. Shall we agree to walk together towards the building of the beloved community?
We shall.
Shall we strive against racism together?
We shall.
Shall we stand for peace among all peoples together?
We shall.
Shall we climb the mountain of equality and justice together?
We shall.
Shall we fight against poverty, homelessness, and hunger together?
We shall.
Shall we join hands and work together in unity and singleness of purpose?
We shall.
So let each of us lead this place, and in the spirit of Dr. King, put our words into action. May God bless you, and thank you. Happy Martin Luther King Day 2023.